Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. EcoFlow sent me their latest release to test on the channel, the Delta Pro Ultra X. Now in today's video, we'll be comparing the differences of this power station to the original DPU, and then I'll go through some of the basic testing that I've completed so far. Now I've put both power stations side by side, and you can see the form factor is very similar. They both use the same exact batteries. The trolley systems to roll them around are the same. The only difference is the actual inverter module on the top. Now the inverter module on the DPUx has been upgraded quite a bit. For example, this now has a 12,000 watt inverter, meaning it supports 240 volt split phase output at 50 amps. This also accepts up to 10,000 watts of solar, which is upgraded over the original DPU, and this also can charge via AC input at up to 12,000 watts as well. Now taking a closer look at the front of the power station, you have multiple AC outputs. Right here you have your 240 volt 50 amp output. This is good for 12,000 watts continuous. Then you have your 240 volt 30 amp output. This is good for 7,200 watts continuous. And then you have two 120 volt 20 amp connections, which are good for 2,400 watts continuous each. Now if you look closely at the inverter module, you'll notice that there are no USB ports and there's no 12 volt output. So they have removed that on the DPUx. This is solely focused to be a home backup system. Now EcoFlow has multiple options for integrating the Delta Pro Ultra X into your home. First is the new Smart Home Panel 3, which acts as a smart transfer switch and is now upgraded to house 32 circuits and support 200 amps of power. This is quite the upgrade over the previous smart home panel, which only had 12 circuits. Second, they provide a more simple 200 amp smart gateway with only 6 circuits if you need to run only a few critical loads. Now you can also use your own manual transfer switch like me, but just be aware even the biggest manual transfer switches available only offer 10 circuits versus the 32 circuits in the new Smart Home Panel 3. Now because the DPUx is so powerful, EcoFlow requires you to have 2 batteries connected to get you the full output. You can see the cables have changed slightly. This one right here is the standard looking cable. It connects to the first battery, and then they include this longer cable that goes down to the second battery. Now since the DPUx has 2 battery ports, it now supports double the capacity. You can get 2 stacks of DPU batteries 5 high for a total of 60 kilowatt hours of capacity, versus the original DPU where you could have a single stack of 5 batteries for 30 kilowatt hours of capacity. Now I flipped the power station around the back so you guys can see the solar input. Behind this flap right here you have your MC4 connections. There are 2 individual solar charge controllers. They're good for 80 volts up to 500 volts open circuit, 15 amps, or 5,000 watts each. So you can get 10,000 watts of solar via these 2 ports here. Now if you remember on the original Delta Pro Ultra, the PV disconnect was built into the inverter module itself. Well, they moved forward with a different design on the DPUx. They now include this external PV disconnect. You connect your solar input into these 2 knockouts here, and then the MC4 connections plug into the inverter module on the solar input. Now I think using the external disconnect is a smart idea because on early models of the original DPU, the internal switch would actually break for the PV, meaning that you actually had to send back your entire DPU inverter and they had to fix that or send out a replacement. But now that they are using an external PV disconnect, if that breaks, you can easily get that replaced or you can use your own solution. Now another difference between the original DPU and the DPUx is the AC charging input. This now supports up to 12,000 watts. Now that 12,000 watts is also valid for UPS mode or bypass mode, which is advertised to be 10 milliseconds. We'll be testing that here in a couple minutes. Now the charging has changed a little bit. There's no longer a 120 volt input port on the front to charge it with 120 volts. All the charging now goes through this port on the side, so you can now charge it with 120 volts, 240 volts via this port. Now in the box they include this 120 volt charging cable, which is good for 1,800 watts, but in the future they do plan to release a charging option for gas generators and for EV charging, and you can use both of those to get the full 12,000 watts input. Now quickly comparing the differences between the DPUx and the DPU, the original DPU inverter is rated at 7,200 watts continuous, while the DPUx is rated at 12,000 watts continuous. The solar charging on the DPU is good for up to 5,600 watts input. That's via a low voltage and high voltage charge controller. The solar charging on the DPUx is good for 10,000 watts input. via 2 high voltage charge controllers. The DPU supports 30 kilowatt hours of batteries, while the DPUx supports up to 60 kilowatt hours of batteries. So you guys can see that the new DPUx is quite the upgrade over the original DPU, but I will say they have left out a few features moving to the new model. For example, the original DPU does have USB ports, so if you want to charge mobile devices, there are 4 USB ports on the front of the power station. Also, if you absolutely need to power 12 volt loads, the original DPU has a 12 volt 30 amp output to do that. And finally, if you have low voltage solar panels or portable panels, the DPU has a low voltage solar charge controller, so you can plug those in and charge it up using those lower voltage solar panels, where the new DPUx requires a higher voltage to start charging. So if you're looking for a massive amount of power and more capacity, the DPUx may be worth considering, but if you absolutely need USB ports, 12 volt output, or a low voltage solar charge controller, it might be worth considering the DPU. Now, I've been using this power station for 2 years nonstop, and it's worked flawlessly over those 2 years. Now, I'm sure you guys are curious about the launch details and pricing information for the new DPUx. On October 13th, EcoFlow did start a pre-sale event for the unit where you could purchase a $500 coupon, and once the official launch happens on November 3rd, you could save $1,000 off the unit price with that coupon. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any pricing information for the power station. It seems that EcoFlow has been tight-lipped about their pricing information recently because people are releasing that early when they don't have permission to. So unfortunately, anybody that's creating a video for this unit doesn't have pricing information, and we all have to wait till the official launch date of November 3rd to find out the pricing details, and I really hope they're competitive. Okay, so with all that information out of the way, how does the inverter actually perform on the DPUx? Well, let's start some testing to find out. So in my first test on the DPUx inverter, I want to do a max load test, and I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. If you'll remember, the inverter is rated at 12,000 watts continuous, so I've purchased a bunch of heaters to give us 12,000 watts continuous output, and I've added a little bit extra, so I have 700 watts of heaters here and 700 watts of heaters here, just in case this doesn't give us the full 12,000 watts output. Now, we will be running this test for 15 minutes, so I will be tracking the output with my oscilloscope, we'll be timing it with a timer, and then we'll also be checking in on the thermals with my thermal camera. Now, typically I measure the noise output of the power station, but usually the heaters are in another room. But the problem is I do not have this many extension cables, so measuring noise is just going to be a little bit tricky, but we'll see what we can do. Now, if we zoom in here, you can see the heaters are connected to the 240 volt 30 amp output, and then I'm using this adapter here for the 240 volt 50 amp output, and then I'm using these splitters, so I essentially have 6,000 watts connected to each leg. Now guys, I'm sitting here looking at all these heaters. This is going to be a massive amount of heat, so I was kind of thinking I don't want this heat to throw off the results of the test. So I've added this fan here, and this is going to blow the heat away into the room so that the power station does not get too affected by all this heat it's creating. Now, once I enabled the inverter, I turned on all the heaters for a total of 12,000 watts. During the test, my oscilloscope was showing a very clean sine wave output, and I measured 119 volts at 60 hertz. Now, just giving you guys a live update, the load has been going for 5 minutes so far, and it's just a massive amount of heat coming at me. That fan is definitely blowing the air at me. I'm just completely starting to sweat. But we are running 12,000 watts through the inverter, and it's running it just fine. After about 10 minutes of running the load, I used my thermal camera to confirm the power station temperatures. I saw a peak of 120 degrees Fahrenheit coming from the cooling vents, which is super impressive considering the fans are nearly silent. Now, after all the power stations I've tested, typically you'll get the loudest fan noise after 12 minutes of running the max load test. So we're coming up on the 12-minute mark. Now I'm trying to debate what to do here because these are making a ton of noise. Same with this fan here. And then if I actually go over to the power station, I can't even hear the fans running. So the fans are nearly silent. I feel heat coming out here. These fans are definitely working, but I cannot hear them over the sound of the heaters. So what I'm thinking is I'll set up my sound
tester and my tripod over there. Then what we'll do is we'll turn off the inverter and see how loud the fans are right when it hits 15 minutes. So if you take a look at this timer here, it is hitting the 15-minute mark. So we did run the full 12,000 watts for 15 minutes. So this did pass the max load test. Let's hurry and turn off the fans, turn off the inverter, and let's see if we can hear the actual sound of the cooling fans and how loud they are. So in the next test on the power station, I want to see how well the inverter handles surge or inductive loads. Now it's rated for a massive 12,000 watts continuous, and in order to test out the surge capability, I am connected to the 240 volt 30 amp connection, and then I'm using this splitter. I will be testing one of the 120 volt legs, so that's 6,000 watts continuous, so hopefully we see a bit over that with the surge capability. So heading outside, I have two 15 amp saws connected up to an extension cable. So this is my 15 amp table saw, and this is my 15 amp miter saw. Now in order to measure the inrush current, I have my Klein clamp meter on the hot wire. And don't worry, I have this set to 600 amps peak. So we'll see how many amps we get as we turn both these on. So I moved my meter into the shade so you guys can see the screen. So let's power up both these saws at the same time. So 3, 2, 1. Take a look at that, 95.4 amps. That is a ton of surge amps. Wow guys, that was super impressive that these two saws together pulled about 12,000 watts. We were just shy of 12,000 watts surge. So for the final surge test, I've added a 12 amp vacuum. So what I've done here, because I only have two hands, I've combined these two onto a switch, and then I have the power switch for the table saw. We're gonna turn them all on at once to see if we can get any higher and see if the inverter overloads. Second surge test in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think we got an overload, guys. 101.7 amps, so that is slightly above 12,000 watts. And that's pretty good for one leg of 120, double the actual power of the inverter. So in the next test, I want to see how fast the UPS cutover is on the DPUx. EcoFlow advertises it to be 10 milliseconds or less. So I have my desktop computer, monitor, studio lights, and oscilloscope all plugged into the 240 volt output. The power station is charging from AC wall power, so it's in UPS mode. So as I disconnect wall charging, how fast will it swap over to the battery backup? Now let's go do the first UPS cutover test. Now it's a bit hard to catch it sometimes, so I've zoomed out on my oscilloscope to give us a wider range. So we'll go ahead and test that in 3, 2, 1. I think we caught it. So I've zoomed in on the actual cutover. It's measured between these two cursors, and it's actually 7.4 milliseconds. So it is under the 10 milliseconds that it's advertised for. Now it's kind of interesting because you have a half waveform here, and then it never went completely flat. We just have a cutout point here and then a resume point here. You can see that the computer is still running after that first cutover. I am running a stress test to max out the computer, so it is simulating a load. Let's go ahead and do a couple more tests. So UPS test number 2, 3, 2, 1. Third and final UPS test in 3, 2, 1. So after 3 UPS tests, the computer is still running, and it's definitely fast at under 10 milliseconds. So with my next test on the inverter, I want to plug in my outlet tester to see if it has a floating ground or a bonded ground. Plugging into the 120 volt output, we are seeing a floating ground. Now plugging into the 240 volt output, measuring one of the legs, we are also getting a floating ground. Now I've just connected the AC charging cable, so let's see if it picks up ground from the charging source. Connecting to the 120 volt output, you can see the power station is now grounded. Plugging into the 240 volt output, you can see we're also grounded. So whenever you are charging from the wall, it will pick up ground from the charging source or while it's in UPS mode. How much usable capacity should you expect when running loads off the inverter? I discharged the power station with the resistive load until the battery died and measured 11,350 watt hours of usable capacity. This result is 92.3% of the advertised capacity, which is a bit higher than our goal of 85%. Now, how much power is used as the AC inverter is turned on for a long period of time? Starting with the power station fully charged and leaving the inverter turned on for 12 hours, the state of charge had dropped down to only 94%, meaning the inverter used about 6% of the battery over 12 hours, or about 0.5% per hour. That's super efficient. I also wanted to test the AC charging efficiency, or how much energy it takes to fully charge the batteries. Starting from empty, I tracked the usage with an inline watt meter, and I measured 14,570 watt hours to charge the 12,288 watt hour capacity, which means the AC charging process is about 84.3% efficient. Next, does the inverter produce any interference? Using a dirty electricity meter, I measured 1,710 millivolts of EMI, which is about average. I then plugged in my guitar amp to confirm. It was absolutely dead silent, no buzzing or no humming.
Now, after all the tests on the AC inverter, I can say I'm happy with the performance, especially because this is a pre-production unit running pre-production firmware. So I'm gonna have to do more testing and especially give an update after this is running like the live firmware and it's working inside the actual EcoFlow app, because the beta app doesn't have full functionality of what the actual EcoFlow app does. And so I definitely will plan to do an update video with more information about the power station and how it works. That's kind of similar what I did with the original DPU. I got a pre-production unit. I had to go through a lot of this testing, and then after about 3 months, I provided an update on how everything went. So that's probably what I'll do on this, is a 3-month update on how it performs and a little bit more information about the charging and things like that. Now, I did plug this into the solar arrays that I have available at my house, which is a 1200 watt array on my shed and then a 1600 watt array on my carport. I wired those together in series, and then I connected up a 1000 watt array into the second high PV input, and I was able to charge around 2800 watts. Now, it's not ideal during this time of year to get peak output, and I have nowhere near the full 10,000 watts of solar that this supports. So I just don't have that much solar available, but I'm sure it's definitely capable of charging at that speed. Now, for anybody that's interested in learning more about the DPUx, make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know what you'd like to learn about in my future video. Also, if you're interested in picking up the coupon or the discount code coupon for reserving the power station, I will have a link to it down in the video description so you guys can learn more about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please smash the thumbs up button. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.